it's Brooke. Welcome back to another episode of the A Knit Soul podcast. My name is Brooke and I am an interior designer in the Northern Virginia area, and I'm also the owner and dyer behind Fully Spun, where I hand dye roving and I have it spun at a mill, and that creates a really beautiful color striping effect. You can find me on RAVELRY as 2013 Chick, CHIC, on Instagram as Brooke Knits, and my shop website is www.fullyspun.com. Thanks for coming back to all of you old viewers, and welcome to the new viewers. Right now, through September 21st, we have the Make It Hot Knit and Crochet Along happening, and any project over 200 grams is eligible to be entered into that knit along. And works in progress, of course, as of June 21st, are eligible to enter. And the idea behind that is that you would knit and complete large items like large shawls, wraps, blankets, sweaters throughout the summer. Even though it's a little bit hot, you know, we're going to say to hell with that. We're just going to continue working on our projects that we would like to work through. And speaking of blankets, the first two things I have to show you guys are two blankets that I'm working on. The first is a Scrappy Blanket, and the pattern on RAVELRY is the Make a Long Story Short blanket. It's a free pattern on RAVELRY, and it is just my, yeah, that's the right side. It's just my mini scrap blanket that I'm working on, and it's grown a little bit since you guys have seen it last, and I'll go ahead and put a progress marker in it today. Once it gets double this size, I'll bring it back and show it again. I just started adding some of the colors from my Starting Point Mystery Knit Along shawl that I just finished. And basically there's no color scheme apart from where I'm adding yarn specifically from a project that was recently finished. It'll just be in general rainbow order over and over again. Until it's as big as I want it to be, then I'll decrease and do the same thing. So yeah, this is just like sits right next to my bed, and I knit on it if I don't feel like working on anything else when I'm almost ready to sleep. So my next blanket is a really fun project that I just absolutely love. This is actually my only my second Fair Isle project. My first Fair Isle project is right here, and these are the How Cold Is It mittens, and I actually knit them out of some yarn from my shop, the Winter in Iceland colorway, and I just really loved that process, and so I decided I wanted to do a Fair Isle blanket. Of course, if you've seen this before, initially I was going to do the Persian Dreams worsted, but it was very fiddly. I didn't like it. So even though I had dyed 14 colors for it, I decided to just do my own thing. I looked in my 200 Fair Isle motifs book and picked an arrow and a tree motif, decided how I wanted to arrange my colors, decided how many stitches I wanted in rows, and I just cast on. So last time you saw this, I was just starting the white section, and now I'm almost finished with the green section, and I'm excited to move on to the next color. And so this is, the white and blue consists of one repeat, and so there are 17 of those, and they alternate between the arrow and the feather. As well, I'm knitting both halves of the blanket at the same time. So I have, at the halfway point, I have stitches where I'll steek it later, and then of course stitches at the beginning where I'll steek it, and my plan is to Kitchener the two halves together. And I'm doing that because I am not 100% sure if I have enough of every color, so I would like both halves of the blanket to be the same, and if I start running out of colors down the line, I can substitute or swap and it'll still look like it was intentional. So that is that blanket. And I'm really excited about it. I'm knitting it with Knit Picks Wool of the Andes that I dyed myself into the colors that I wanted. So up next is, y'all, I've had a headache like the last week and a half straight. My work has been so stressful. Today's Wednesday. I'm just getting home from work. I'm recording a little late just because I hadn't felt up to it. But now it's kind of like I have to record just to be able to get the video out on time when I would like. But yeah, I've just had a pretty much constant headache for the last week and a half. But yeah, I'm working through it. I have been knitting a lot, and so that definitely helps me feel better, and also riding my bike too. So up next is the Anniversaire cardigan, and that is a sweater pattern by Veera Valimaki, and it was in the Pom Pom Quarterly summer edition for this year. And I just started. This is the upper back. And the yarn that I'm using is custom dyed for me by Dog Star Knits. And what I'm doing is the back has an asymmetrical cable panel, and that I'm knitting in a contrasting color to the rest of the sweater, which is this really, really pretty blue color that has got some like red and purple tones to it. So it's got a lot of depth, which is really what I was looking for, and I'm very excited about it. And happy to knit with it. It's a pretty, really nice yarn, and this is a DK weight yarn. This is also my first time doing something with this many cables, as well as my first time using intarsia, which is the technique where you switch colors in the middle of the row. And the cable needle I'm using, I got a couple weeks ago from Leslie Wind. She's on LeslieWind.com, I think, on Etsy. And it's cool because it came with this leather necklace, and if I can unwrap it. Okay, so it comes with this leather cord, and then here's the cable needle, and I just use it and then tuck it on the cord while I'm on my cable row, and then pull it off and tuck it back on as I'm cabling across. And then when I'm not cabling or ready to put it away, I can just wrap it, and then now it's secure on the cord. So I've been enjoying working with this. Previously, I've worked with just the regular plastic bent ones, and I wanted something that felt a little bit more secure because this has quite a bit of cables on it. One point of advice that I would suggest if you decide that you would like to knit this sweater is to actually take just in PowerPoint or Photoshop if you have it. I just used PowerPoint because it was easy enough. Just take the screenshots of the charts and line them up, because the repeats don't line up in order. So you've got some that repeat like every so often, and then some with much longer repeats. And so I just really felt the need to have it clear so I can know, okay, good, just knit straight across, or you're going to have to stop and do a cable. So if you do decide to do this, I would suggest trying to figure out a way to do that, and that will make your life a lot easier, because the charts are just small individual charts with one stitch repeat and then one set of row repeats. And up next, another new cast on. Another thing that I've been wanting to start knitting for a while, but I was waiting until I finished my starting point shawl to start knitting. There's a mosquito in here. This is the Granito, which is a pullover pattern by Locatelli, and I'm knitting it with my fully spun yarn in the Hint of Mint colorway. So here's the upper back, and I'm working on the front, and I'm just can't wait for the moment when I get to where it's all joined in a circle, because then I feel like it's going to fly off my needles. I just started this on Saturday morning, and it's been really enjoyable to knit. The yarn that I'm using is my normal base, which is a BFL, which I dye as roving, and then I have spun at a mill. And BFL just has a really nice soft quality to it, and in finished objects it also drapes really well. And so I'm really enjoying the process of knitting this, obviously, because I've knit this much just in a few days. And you all know, if you are regular watchers of my podcast, is I often don't get much knitting time. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. What's interesting with this one and the Anniversaire cardigan, and I also swatched for the Oster sweater that my sister and I are knitting for my grandfather, my stitch gauge was okay. I had to go down a needle size. This one I'm just using the 4 that is called for, and my stitch count was good. But my row gauge was like really off. Like on my Anniversaire cardigan, the row gauge was probably off by like a few rows per 4 inches, which was significant, which is not a huge deal because you just do less, you knit less rows and then it won't be too long. You just knit to the length that you need. But I'm not sure why my row gauge is so off. It's got to be just the way that I knit. But yeah, that was interesting to find out. And maybe it's just a momentary thing. I feel like there was a point in time when I was pretty much on gauge per whatever was called out, and now I'm a really loose knitter, so I've had to go down a size on some of the projects I've done. And I think that's part of why like my fade ended up so large. The starting point Mr. Knit Along shawl, once it was blocked, is like 10 feet long. And I didn't swatch for it because it's a shawl and I didn't feel the need to, and I felt comfortable that I'd be able to get more yarn if I needed more, but I ended up having plenty. So yeah, I'm not sure. I also started another shawl, but it's only like this big, so I'm not going to show it to you guys. But it's a Brio shawl. I'm trying that again. Wish me luck. I will use lifelines this time, but it's simpler. It's not as complicated as the ones I was trying before. And I just went ahead, and I think I went down 2 sizes because it's called for a size 6. Brioche is already loose, so I went down to a size 4 because I was like, I need to count for me knitting loose and then also for brioche being loose as well. I just didn't want it. There's the yardage required on the pattern is like 399 yards of a fingering weight skein, so that's like really cutting it close. So I was just trying to be as safe as possible. So I think the way it works is that a bigger needle would require more yardage for the same number of stitches in rows. So I think that going down a needle size will help accommodate for my gauge and help me be safer with the yardage. And since it's brioche, so it'll be loose and open, and it's still 300 grams of yarn, I feel comfortable that it'll still be long enough for me to not moan and complain about it being too small for me. So yeah, so you guys will probably see that next week. Of course, it requires like good mental energy to work on, whereas this doesn't, so I have a feeling that this was going to grow pretty quickly. And I am really excited about it. One thing I have seen online is that a lot of people do a contrast color on the inner pocket. And I'm not quite sure what I should do. Like, part of me thinks, okay, maybe I'll just see where the color striping is, and I'll just do something that contrasts with that. So, say by the time we're down there, it's like a lighter green section, then maybe I'll go with a dark inner pocket, so that way it'll still be cohesive but interesting, because I couldn't think of a good alternate color to pick that wouldn't just feel random. So yeah, if you have any suggestions on that, definitely just let me know what you think. Alright guys, up next is Can't Let It Go. My Can't Let It Go for this week is an interesting product that I ran across last week, and it's called Huel, H-U-E-L, and it is meant as a meal replacement similar to Soylent, but it is vegan and it's also soy-free. So I'm not vegan, I love meat, but I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't eat whey, and I also cannot eat soy. That makes me pretty sick. So I was really curious to find it out. I just got it today. I haven't tasted it yet. I'm also doing intermittent fasting right now, so I won't eat again until tomorrow morning. And so tomorrow morning I'll taste it out and see how it is. I'm hoping it tastes good. It does have stevia in it, which is an artificial sweetener, but it's kind of like you can't have everything. So you can't have, you know, it's got to have some flavor to it to be edible. And so the like a natural sweetener like dates or something is going to bump it up pretty high, and then I think that is not going to work as well for a powder format. So the sweetener in it is stevia. It has vanilla flavor, but you can get it unflavored and unsweetened if you want to add your own. So I'm interested to try that out. I think it's a cool concept. Right now, just with being so busy, I think it's good to not have to think as much about food. And with intermittent fasting, it definitely helps. One, it's really inexpensive. It's about $60 for a tub of 28 meals. And for something that is high protein and is a meal substitute, you know, that's really great. So yeah, I've rambled on about that enough. I know you guys are here for knitting and not for health and fitness. At least in this video anyway. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. And if you'd like to see more craft and lifestyle videos from me, definitely hit that subscribe button down below. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.